Hare Krishna. Good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to this one of its kind program. We have titled this as India is Still India, a web-based discussion forum. We invite you all for this every Sunday evening program. This forum would continue from today, and we would like to have all of you present here to be active. This discussion forum is not a monologue, it's a lecture kind of a session. This is going to be a session where a lot of thought process, a lot of points are going to be discussed. And it's open for all intellectuals or administrators, or even you can call social activists, or to put simply, people in public domain. There are various forums or various platforms in which a lot of these points are getting discussed today. What are the problems that are afflicting our society? What are the things that has to be resolved, by which some of these problems can be addressed from data? Probably today is going to be introductory session, and in this session, what I will do is I will set the code straight. I will try to get it straight, that what are the things that we are going to do in this forum, in this web-based discussion platform. And the second one, why this kind of programs are very unique, is that maybe the person in front of you, maybe that's unique. Generally, people in this attire, or people whom you must have seen like this, generally deal with a different subject altogether. And or you might even doubt that maybe he's going to do the same here, that it's going to be some sort of a religious or some sort of a Vedic program or something, where some Vedic texts are going to be discussed. Of course, we are not going to completely sideline them also. But this program is nothing to do with anything that people, what they call today as right-wing ideology or whatever. Today, the program is very clear. The program is about various questions which people have in their mind, that what is happening in front. First of all, I would like to introduce myself, and what is the objective of this program is what I will deal first in this brief history here. First of all, I am Sri Ram Das. I again use this opportunity to welcome everyone who have joined us on this wonderful Sunday evening. So just give a brief about myself. For about 15 years or so, I worked for an international bank based out in Dubai. And my work entitled me to travel and visit various countries. To be precise, close to 30 or so countries I must have visited during my career. I have met many people, to be precise, that people from all walks of life, whether you can say public domain people, or people who are private entrepreneurs, or people who have financial experts, or people who are administrators themselves, and even in some cases, some of the people who are all politicians also. And what happened is, having met all these kind of, I would say, successful people in various walks of life, I felt over a period of time that something is missing here. People are not happy, definitely. People are missing something in their life. What is that thing that is really afflicting them, that they are not able to identify or become or achieve that goal for which everybody is striving for here? Something is wrong in this world, am I right? So the first thing what we have to understand here is that what are the things that can be addressed here, and what are the things that we are actually feeling short. In spite of knowing what we want personally and collectively as a society, we still have fallen short in various metrics. In that, I was raised in somewhat a religious or even orthodox family, and most of the times I was naturally inclined to look into or see the issues from a spiritual background or spiritual fervor, or even a cultural mindset, I can say. And even from an young age, I started reading Bhagavad Gita. I started asking people various questions whom I met across the globe. I would say even from countries like Australia to Latin America, or even from Africa to right across to Asia, or even in the Western world. All these people whom I have met and whom I have asked some of the specific questions about the societal problems or even the individual problems, one thing is very clear, that we are quite puzzled that how to solve these kind of problems, because we don't know where the root of the problem is. Definitely, if you go and do a little bit of a analysis here, you would definitely find this out, that we have really missed the roots. Eventually, after many years of meeting this kind of people and reading Bhagavad Gita, or even getting connected with the spiritual mindset, I realized that this great spiritual culture of our forefathers is what this world needs today. Definitely, guys, that what we are really missing here is a spiritual culture. Today, we might even boast ourselves that we have become very much advanced in various materialistic or technological advancements. Let's face it, definitely, if somebody would argue with me, they would tell that what are the kind of advancements our forefathers had? They were living very primitively, even from whatever the housing to the technological gadgets, or even from whatever you can name it, they were really living primitively, this is what you people might say. But definitely, if my forefathers or your forefathers are made to appear here, and if you ask the question, and if they see the current world where we are living in, they would definitely tell that world is in a mess. And India too is not different, guys. And we are not coupled, we are not decoupled, in fact. We have actually very much coupled to this entire world of what they call the so-called globalization. And we find it that when we proceed further in today's session, that even in other sessions in future also, that what are the things that we have become very much coupled with this entire world of functioning, and what we have left behind. And what I want actually today, or even the future session, is that let us have a discussion forum by which some of these problems can be analyzed. That I was really astonished to find that some of our traditional books or some of our Vedic scriptures, namely Bhagavad Gita, gives a lot of Vedic solutions to us. And people think that these are all something spiritual guidance is what these books can offer. But definitely, there are very many practical guidances. We are actually having a problem in this world can be solved if you look through their prism. And I'm intrigued even today that I find more and more exciting answers in our Vedic texts. I left my career long time back and I joined as a full-time sadhu in one of the ISKCON centers. You must have been aware of this ISKCON term, or what they call as Hare Krishna movement, this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, here in Salem, Tamil Nadu. And of course, I'm not telling that every one of you should become like this. It might not be practical, of course. Acknowledge the fact that I have been, in fact, very fortunate to be in a position today here to speak to you people. And our spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, was definitely a practical sadhu. He brought the real treasure of our culture to the entire world. Today, as every one of you might be aware, that this ISKCON as a worldwide movement has really taught not only the Indians, but at least every part of this world or every country in this part of the world on how to apply this Vedic knowledge in every walks of the human life. I would say every walks of human life, namely what you can say economics, political sciences, sociology, or even cultural aspects or societal aspects. Whatever you can think of, everything can be adjusted or everything can be traced back with the kind of solutions what we get from these kind of Vedic scriptures as well. And what they do, actually what they do is they help us in preparing a better future. And at the end of the day, what we want is peace and harmony in the society. But that is one thing which is definitely not easily available or easily achievable, in fact. And here there is this kind of platform has been started today, which we have set open today. And the only objective of this kind of web-based forum is to enable people, what we are planning in this entire series of sessions, which we are going to have in the future as well, is that to invite people from various walks of life. I mean, irrespective of any religious denominations, any caste, any creed, or any gender, or etc. If any of them definitely can bring in some substance or any value to this program, that we would invite them in going forward from all these sessions starting from next week or henceforth. What we will do is we will take up each unique topics, and each topic will be analyzed. We will also invite some of the experts from time to time, so that they can give their best views. And also we would like to present what are the ways in which some of these problems can be looked from a different view. So any thought or idea which can bring peace and harmony to the society for this struggling human civilization, actually, we are actually struggling. We might boast ourselves that we have reached the pinnacle of civilization, but definitely we are suffering, we are struggling actually. And India is definitely in a unique position. As the topic here conveys, that India is the world leader, or was the world leader, and even today is the world leader in spiritual technology. And it is the only surviving culture which have any hope in uplifting the general human race, not only around this geographical perimeter of this country, but across the globe, I would say. Bear with me. Today, it might be a monologue, as I said, because I need to set the stage straight for further programs. So what I will do in this entire, maybe another half an hour or so, is that I would try to put forward some of the questions which have intrigued me over the period of last few years. And the topics would be of the current social needs, which I would call economics, or even finance, or even cultural, or societal, or politics, or technological, or medical, or even cultural aspects, or gender equality, or whatever. So what we are going to do is also we are going to bring in some experts from time to time, discuss, analyze, and what these experts might bring in is the ground situation or the ground reality, which actually very much helps us in understanding how to transform these things. From my little experience, what I have seen from the internet media, or even from the mainstream media, or even from some of this print media also, many a times what we do is we don't deeply dive into our problems. We actually rather skim the surface. Any problem, for example, a societal problem or an economical problem, is never actually, we need a radical change or a paradigm shift in our thinking, is what I personally feel. Most of the solutions are culture specific. This line is very important. Most of our problems or solutions to these problems can be achieved when we actually touch the root of our society, which is our culture. And that is what is India is. And that is what India could really offer to us. That the topic, India is still India, even from the flyer, or even from the backdrop which you see behind me, you must be seeing the two sets of pictures there. One set of picture is that one side, India is advancing in a modern way. India is advancing in whatever they call technological or infrastructure, or whatever way you can term it. India is definitely advancing. India is developing, as they say. But how are we ready to cut off our roots is the real question I have today. And whenever we talk about India, it's not a geographical boundary. Some people, I mean, when you say what is India, India is a geographical boundary starting from Kanyakumari to Kashmir and Kutch to, say, probably some Assam or Arunachal Pradesh. So, but definitely these geographical boundaries have been given to us by British. But the real India is the cultural India. So that's it. Let's start with our exploration. Let's start with our action plan for which we have set for today. So we are just going to see a lot of questions. What are the areas, or what are the things which we can probably think of? And probably from next week or something, we can take up individual topics, and we can slice and dice them much more so that we can be able to come out with some kind of understanding. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to take you through some of the topics which I thought would be worth presenting here. Indian perspective, what problems we face. And it does not mean that all these problems are India specific. All these problems which we are facing today are, I would say, is the problems which the entire human civilization is facing, in fact. Problems could be or could be seen in various parts of the world, which I have personally traveled, and many of you would also vouch for it. So starting with this, first, I would like to touch upon the topic that everyone in this whole world thinks that development is the only way out, right? Even what they say is that development is is the only panacea available with us to solve all our problems. And even our honorable Prime Minister of this country is doing a commendable job, I would say, in bringing about a change in this entire country through development. And definitely, development is really showing some of the radical changes in the country wherever or whenever we travel around. But the real question is that really the best thing that India has to follow? That's the question I have today, folks. That which India has embarked upon is the only way by which we can come out of these problems. And all these developments, what it has brought us today is a new set of problems altogether. I would call environmental problems, societal problems. And what we have to do as a forum here is that we have to analyze deeply that what is the antidote to all of these ills, which the development has brought us to it. Today, even during this pandemic, you must have seen that all this so-called urban development or the urbanization brought our entire country to its knees. Many of this migration problem or many of these people who came to the cities and who have to be who have been left out to fend for themselves really struggled. How do we define the term development? When I say development, India's development agenda is what I have presented here. Now, how do we define a development actually? Is urbanization or something like bringing all the people in pakka houses, or bring in all the people in high-rise buildings, or giving a pakka roads or tar roads to every citizen of this country? Is it a sign of development? Or the other way around is the modern mechanization, or what I call the automation of the entire things what we see around is an emblem of real development. You probably it might take the entire session for us to list so many things, but definitely I don't think you will disagree with me that many of this developmental agenda in our country, I would say more so, has brought upon several ills which we are finding it very tough to cope up. And some of the problems which I can think of now is social problems, displacement of families which are being left out, which we actually, I explained it just now, the environmental problems, and which has brought about a terrible pollution. And entire our planet has been completely polluted. All the developmental programs which the government brings, or even the private development programs, has definitely led to the depletion of resources. And also what we can quote here is that various psychological problems are also come about. Recently, Jaipur and other places had this entire city flooded. The entire urbanization in a city like Jaipur brought it to its knees. And believe it or not, the loss of lives that are happening with this modern development is also quite appalling. Some days back, I was looking at the statistics here that on any given day, the number of people who die in India on the road is much higher than people who die of heart attack or people who die of any of other illness. And maybe they might say that it works well in US or works well in the West. But again, I would say it's in the psyche, because it might be a cultural difference. It might be of something else, which we have to discuss. That's what this program is all about. And the list goes on. And there is no end to the list. And there are many side effects too, which we have already explored here. So the final point here is the entire world, and including India, has presumed here that the solution to many of our problems, many of the poverty, many of the malnourishment, many of the societal problems is development. And every one of us, everyone in this world is propagating the same thing. But really, we have to think, is development the only way about to bring about a positive change in the society? Let's explore in the future weeks. The next point, which I actually wanted to bring you to the table, is of our caste and religious divisions. Definitely what we have to do, we have to do a hard look into our caste and religious divisions. Many a times what it actually looks like is that these superficial solutions which we have devised, say from the time of independence, is that the reservations which we have devised upon us as a only or maybe the possible solution to remove the caste divisions of society, are not dying down. In fact, I would say the caste system has become deeply embedded in your psyche more than our pre-independent era. Apparently looks like that has so much of advantages, but definitely it's not going away. It's not definitely going away. And still, or even we have to think in our future sessions is that, or is such a bad thing that it has to go away. Some people might even come and present it in our forum, is that caste system is much more important. Recently, I read a book which is called Caste as a Social Capital, which was written by one of the IIM, ex-IIM professors. It was a wonderful book which talks about how the caste system as a system has evolved from ancient India and how it has now been completely distorted today in the name of caste divisions, in the name of what I call as religious divisions, or whatever it can be said. But definitely what I also want to present here very clearly is that there is always certain set of people who will have some privileges. Even if you go to a country where democracy is followed, or even fascism is followed, or even communism is followed, there is definitely a class of people who will have a definite privileges. And say in our country also, the political class has some privileges, the judges have some privileges. And the next divisions, what we also have is the religious thing. Isn't it? What we have done today is that we have compartmentalized ourselves into various religious factions. One is that we call ourselves Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists. Atheist is a class which has come up today. So what we are actually finding it out is that we find some superficial solutions to solve these problems also. But definitely these problems are not going in, because generally people say that in a remote hinterland, there is still some huge caste divisions. But definitely in a metropolitan city, there seems to be that there is not much caste divisions or religious divisions. But what I feel, what I have observed over a period of time is that in the metropolitan cities, people have generally made themselves to hide their identity. I generally, what I believe is that, for example, people change their name to look more fashionable. That one of the fellow I met, his name was Anand, and he became Andy. When people used to call him Andy, so I thought, what is this Andy? So he told me it's Anand, which is actually a short form. It's called Andy. And another fellow whose name was David, he's called Dave. And there was another fellow from another, what I would call as a religious denomination, is called Rasul, and he called Ras. So what is happening is when you go and meet Ras, or when you go and meet Dave, or when you go and meet Andy, you would not be able to find what their religious denomination is or what their caste denomination is. So you might think that today, yes, very nice. Why do you need to know what their caste is, what their religious affinity is? But what is happening today, as you all know, in the metropolitan cities is the question which I again have, which I am putting forward to all of you people, is that whether this is the only way that we can conceal our identity or leave our cultural moorings to solve this problem of caste and religious divisions. Probably, guys, we have to think more. We have to analyze it deeply in the coming weeks. The other topic which needs much more discussion, which I would feel, is the so-called democracy. Is democracy solving all our problems? Is democracy really serving India? And or is it the best system which is much suitable for us? What is the democracy all about? Democracy is, I would say, is a newly termed or newly invented concept, newly discovered concept by human beings. What, maybe 150, 200 years ago? And it more so, it's much more newer to our place like India, maybe 70 years old. But why it is considered, the question which I have is why it is considered to be the best system of governance, whether it is delivering the best system of governance. Even in the West, which they always boast that they have the best systems they have devised, definitely their democracy is not bringing any positive change there. The greatest exponent of democracy which I could think of is America. America has tremendous social problems, folks, tremendous social problems. People would not be aware of many of the social problems. Their idea of liberty, the idea of democracy has brought them a hard knot, which they themselves are not able to unwind it. And democracy is the real reason for which, so much of protest happens everywhere around the globe. The recent Black Lives Matter. Even though it's very important that these kind of things are being put forward in the community or put forward in the public, but what is happening is it is stymieing the entire growth process. Even today, in a remote part of the country in India, in the hinterland, somebody might say that the Dalits are completely been given a proper platform to do something. Maybe 100 years back or 50 years back, they have been mistreated. But what again I would put forward is that in the name of egalitarianism, what we have done, have we really not exploiting those even so-called Dalits? Even I don't know, compatriots, what is actually happening here is that we have to discuss this in the future sessions to unravel the mystery of what this entire democracy is all about. Democracy is definitely, I don't know, because what is happening is everywhere, every now and then what we see is that even in the West, even in India more so, that we see that certain powers, certain people, actually what they do is they manipulate the levers to their advantage. Every election which happens in every corner of this world, if you go and see the actual analysis, the elections recently happened in Sri Lanka, the elections that is going to happen in America, the elections that has happened in various parts of the world, even recently it happened in Singapore. What happened is in all these elections, none of these elections, if you go dive deep, seems to be serving the entire purpose for which this so-called democracy has been devised for. Some of them are manipulating us. So is democracy the only way about by which a positive change in society can be brought about is the question. The other problem which also I might think of even now is that the population of this entire country. India's huge population is itself unhealthy is what people would say. And people say is that this huge population is actually because of a big burden on our country's resources, biggest burden for governance, biggest burden for anything to do positively in this country. Some of them actually what they do, they call it as a demographic dividend. What is this demographic dividend? The demographic dividend is what is because think about it. The demographic dividend is that how to engage them, not like this. What you see in front of your screens is that it's definitely a demographic dividend. But what it looks like is that I personally, when I see this photo, what I think is that we have actually unsettled millions of people. These millions of people, say I would say 50 years ago or 100 years back, were actually living very peacefully in their own places. And what question I have today is, have we stirred up the hornet's nest? Have we stirred up the hornet's nest? It's a real question I put forward to you guys. That what has happened is that we have actually stirred up the entire issue. The opponents also say that why can't we devise some population controls? So it's always both sides of the same story that this population, whether it is going to be helpful or whether this population which is going to be a burden for us is another thing which can be taken up for discussions in future. The other point which I also want to bring out related to this population thing is that our entire population is also very, very unhealthy. On any given day, when you go and compare that what we have, we call it a so-called healthy lifestyle, the parameters or the statistics which these government or the agencies put forward is that all these statistics are showing a very positive sign. The life expectancy has increased, the mortality rate has reduced, the infant mortality rate has reduced, or various parameters or statistics is being put across to us. But really, as the disease has gone away, the day in which we are speaking today, guys, that even today we are locked up houses freely. We have been brought to our own knees by a pandemic, which our own so-called advanced technicians or advanced scientists are not even having a clue about after 6 or 7 months of their honest work. So this is another thing which we have to seriously think about, whether the medical field or the field in which we are actually trying to help the masses of this country is really working. I was thinking today before starting the session, this simple question came across to my mind, which I thought we'll put across to the forum today. Is universal free medical aid possible in India? as they proclaim in various countries around the world, can we give a free medical aid to every one of them in this country? Is another topic which again I am putting forward to the forum for some other day in future. The next question which also can be raised is the philanthropic foundations, which actually we can discuss it again in one more day, is that they are very busy in helping our country. Many of the foreign philanthropic foundations or even our own foundations, I have a feeling that these kind of problems are getting aggravated by these philanthropic foundations. I have a simple question for you people, that the so-called advanced country like America, say for example today, America has higher homeless per million of the population than in India. American people have are afflicted with some acute diseases, more acute diseases per million of the population than a country like India. Same philanthropic foundations today want to come and operate in a place like India, thinking that India is a very poor country, India needs help, India is where we have to focus our energy upon. I was thinking, why can't we start a foundation here in India and help those poor Americans abroad, guys? Those people are also suffering. Those Americans are more interested in us. And why can't we be more interested in them? But what has happened is nobody is there. Millions and millions of American population are homeless. But those American foundations are here very, very busy in treating our own homeless in Kolkata or in Chennai. So the other point which also can be taken up for discussion in the near time is that the national farming policy. See, farming was our, what I would call is the oldest profession which man knew. That's the difference between wants and need. What has happened is he wanted it. What is happening today, all the commercial interest which we have brought into the farming technologies is actually creating a lot of problems to our entire eating habits. The food habits which we have followed today are all aping the West. And many examples can be given. This farming is a very clear thing that many examples can be given. Even sugarcane, which is grown in a drought area. I still cannot understand in some part of the central India that sugarcane is being grown, which is completely dry basins, which are actually drought areas. So a lot of cohorts of this sugarcane barons are in close connections with politicians actually. So how are we going to solve this deep mess of our national farming policy, which I would say is much more important than any other topics which we discussed earlier, that these farming policy might be a livelihood or is the real developmental agenda which the country could follow. Maybe we can discuss it another day. The other issue which can also be put across to this forum today is the societal issues. Why is pornography allowed in human society? I definitely cannot understand why pornography should be allowed. But what is happening is we are actually increasing the addiction of many common man towards this pornography. I would say it's bestial to the least. It brings down the moral values, isn't it? All these people who are addicted to pornography are the one who are going to actually abuse child or going to abuse women or are going to abuse the weaker sections of the society. And we are right away, right from the start of the school to the what we call as even an 80-year-old man is not able to come out of this very poor habit. But what happens is it makes people into animals and exploits the weaker section. Am I right? And the other problem which actually happens, rape, which happens across. What is the root of all this problem? We cannot reduce these kind of societal problems with tougher laws or even what they newly devised, what they call as the police encounters. The police encounters or laws will not bring the real change here. India, I would ask a simple question to all of you guys. Why in India, previously the families were much happier, more stable, more peaceful than now where they are much more disturbed? Why? Why is it so? Is it because, I would say some of the reasons which click to my mind is migration. Because of migration, what has happened? People, the women in the villages have been exploited, or even the women in the urban areas are also exploited. And if you feel that even divorces are giving free rights to the women, we may have to discuss it in the future sessions. Ask Americans, they might have a different opinion. So this is another thing which we have to discuss maybe in another session in future. The other problem which actually I want to bring about is the legal issues. Any advanced society actually boasts themselves that they have a very, very independent and efficient judiciary. And most probably, many of the people will not be even aware that even in many of the developed countries, the legal system is in such a dire strait. You believe me, guys, the legal system in many of the Western world is also in a very dire straits. And previously, maybe 100 years back or 200 years back, the legal system was much more localized. People had a very easy system of getting justice. Today, what we have actually taken for granted is that the legal mess what we are living in is actually a normal thing to do. Why? I have a question again today in this regard, that why is that a common man is not able to get a free justice? Why it has become so complicated? Why we have to devise so much hundreds and thousands of laws every year? Why we have to make so many amendments every year? Why there seems to be no end? And is it corruption which is actually a root cause of this problem also? Or even say, for example, democracy is also an indirect cause for this judicial mess. We need to have a hard look into various issues which I have presented to you folks. We need to have a very hard look. And I want to know, is there any forum or any platform which has taken up these kind of issues which we have discussed today in the last 45 minutes or so, and whether we have actually thought about it in a very, very, what I call is from a root cause analysis has been done? I sincerely doubt it. We don't know. Even what I think now is that the national capital, I was thinking this point. You people might have a hard laugh, but definitely this is a point of contention here, that our national capital is also might be in a wrong place. Our national capital was given to us by the Mughals. Undivided India was much bigger, and maybe Delhi was actually, maybe we can call a north central part of the entire country. So a capital which was there for the Mughal Empire or the empire which was ruling at that time, Delhi seems to be a very suitable place. But today, our country has been divided into 100 parts. We have bled into 100 pieces. Think of it. I was just thinking while walking today to this program that if we change our national capital to a place in South India or to a place in Tamil Nadu, what will happen? It will be a very wonderful thing. I was thinking today, most of the South Indian states feel disconnected with the entire what I call the Indianness or India thing, which actually is happening in the north. Why don't we bring the national capital to the south and make the South Indians much more connected to the concept of India or the oneness of India? This is another thought which came to me. So these are anything. There are so many areas which we can go on, and what we have done over the period of last 70 or so years is that we have elected governments after governments. We have brought various bureaucrats. We have brought various what we call as administrators or various advisors to the government. But actually, none of them, including us, why to blame them, including us, we have never thought of these problems in a very deep-rooted manner. Never seen these problems of where the actual cause for the entire problem is. This program is not a program where it's going to be a monologue in future, definitely. So this forum is open for you all. I would definitely request you all people to join us every week, possibly on this Sunday afternoon, for this India is Still India, a web series which we have started today. We have created a separate email ID for this program, and that email ID is indiaisstillIndia@gmail.com. I would request you, all of you who have joined here, or people who might be who have missed this program entirely, can also join us in future to share us some of their points or some of their videos or some of the points which can be taken up in the future sessions. Because every idea or every discussion which we are going to do in this entire forum should create some positive difference in our society. And also what I would request you all people is that if you can join or you can send a WhatsApp to that number 88700 16108 is the number which you can probably send a WhatsApp message, India is Still India, and also save this number in your mobile or whatever. And every week I can share the broadcast for this program, and that broadcast will only reach you if you have saved that number. Most of us might think that we have put the blame on politicians. It may be partly true, but does that mean that we don't have any solutions to some of these problems? We need to have we have to make hard decisions, I feel. We have to make very, very hard decisions, which today we are restricting ourselves in even thinking more about this. So I would say, why can't we have a simple reset? What we have done all along in the last 70 or so years after our independence is that we have applied a band-aid. What we have simply put is some temporary solutions to our very, very deep problems. Our leg is cut very deeply. Can a band-aid simply help? I don't think it will help us. So we need to have some solutions to some of these problems. And so we need a reset. And India's only asset, India is still India, guys. And India's only asset, or the biggest asset, is that its spiritual prowess. And we have definitely not used that treasure, which I feel, which we have left out. So that is the thing which actually comes out in all these problems which we discussed today. So that's it for today. That's it for today, folks. And what we can do, I hope you must have taken up this numbers and other things. I would leave this on the screen for some more time for people to note it down, for people to take up the email ID. And every one of you can even join week after week. You can tell your friends to join this program. We would take up each and every session. Hare Krishna. So if anybody who would like to comment or would like to pass on their valuable feedback, or welcome to do now. And what I can tell is that people who wish to join or comment on this forum can raise their hands. And Balaji Srinivasan is a person who has raised his hand. So I would request him to come about and give a brief about him and also tell if he has any points about it.
Namaste, Prabhuji. Hello, everyone. This is Balaji Srinivasan from Hyderabad. So far, around more than 15 years, I'm serving in IT industry, and now I'm serving in our Almighty. So I'm gaining some kind of a time from apart from my job profile, and started online session. So I would thank COVID, one of the main reason where it formed us through a virtual medium where we are able to end. So a lot of people can join multiple sessions devotionally, virtually, or any informative across the world and across Asia. This is very good initiative from Salem ISKCON. And apart from the devotional and spiritual topic, this is a topic where we need to discuss, research, catalyst, analyst, and everything. Whatever word you would say, we should be having it. And we should be thorough enough on kind of, as Prabhuji said, a deep dive is required here, and each and every small atom of each and every topic.
That's true.
Very good initiative, Prabhuji. I would request you, like, shall I share this particular forum to my colleagues and friends with your permission?
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's actually open for people. And that's what I said. This program is not restricted to any what I call as religious denomination, even though the attire in which I'm sitting in front of you might look like one, but definitely this program doesn't have any religious connotations to it. So anybody, even from other, even he might be having from a Christian faith or a Muslim faith, or even from any other walks of life, they can definitely join in. There is no restrictions on it. And I think this would bring in a positive change in that. So please go ahead and do it.
Thank you, Pranam. Thank you.
One of them have commented that which is the correct culture in India, either create more jobs or profit. Is yeah, that's another point which we can take up in future sessions. That which is the correct culture in India? Either we have to create more jobs or more profit, or the cultural things, or what we call as the peace and harmony. I mean, we can go on, create profits, go on, create jobs, go on, urbanize the entire landscape. But are we having enough peace and harmony in the society is something which we have to think about. if at the expense of all these things which we are actually not able to do, not able to achieve peace and harmony in the society, then what's the point in actually having this kind of job creation or urbanization or anything of that sort? So what we have to really think about is that what we really need. Do we need a chaotic society which might have full of jobs? Or do we need a society which is much more stable, much more pleasant, much more able to take care of the needs of these individual members? That's what probably the administrators or even us, we are a part of this society. We are the part of the society. So we as a society have to think in those lines. It's very important actually. We don't know what to do. The reset can only happen when, as a society, there needs to be a change which has to be effected. And Jagadishan has come back again to set a point here that we should have smarter villages and smarter villages or smarter cities, because villages are the backbone of the country. Of course, it is, and but that's where we have learned the hard lesson during this pandemic. During this pandemic, we have learned a very hard lesson. Am I right or not? The hard lesson which we have actually learned here is that we have actually completely messed up the entire society. Who have actually displaced from the villages to the cities are a big clog to the entire system of the urbanization. They are actually using more resources. They are actually creating so much of waste. There is unhealthy working environment. There is unhealthy living style, living conditions. There is unhealthy food. What else? The list goes on. Please be connected in that email ID or through that WhatsApp number which I have presented here. And India is still India is the tagline which we have devised for this program. And definitely it is not untrue that India is still India and India will definitely be India. Even whatever modern amenities or modern things which we do, I personally feel India's roots are very, 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 very deep, and it's not going to be much easier to cut off those roots and bring the complete change like a Western mindset, which we are trying hard to do. I think the spiritual culture will help us to revive our, bring about a positive change in the entire society. We would definitely like to see you again on another program, and hope you find this program very interesting and unique. And definitely it is worth propagating to others too. Thank you once again for joining, and hope to see you another time, another Sunday evening. Thank you. Hare Krishna.